the more I look through this transfer window, the more I realize that Arsenal are look to be waving the white flag in not being able to get any more players, especially with all this talk about Arsenal having to sell players and dealing with their wages and getting players off the book and all that sort of stuff. So I can understand that to some degree, because there are wages that are quite high for some of the players. We can count Zinchenko, we can count Reece Nelson, we can even count, say, Gabriel Jesus. There are a lot of players that essentially need to go in order to free out the wage bill. So tell me, what is the logic of giving Trossard a higher contract? It doesn't make any sense, especially to announce it right now, even when the fan base is literally in a meltdown, hoping for Eberechi Eze to come to the club. Now, in my video that I've done quite previously, I said that I was concerned on Eze not potentially coming towards the club, especially with the release clause, and lo and behold, it's been very disappointing and very disheartening to see that Eze could be on the potential move to go to Tottenham Hotspur, a guy that was a boyhood Arsenal fan, that's come through the academy, that's made his name through QPR and Crystal Palace, that's helped Crystal Palace win the FA Cup and the Community Shield, is on the possible move to Tottenham Hotspur. It's sad, it's disheartening, it's quite sickening, to be honest with you. And throughout this entire season, especially in this transfer window, it's nothing short of underwhelming, especially with the players that have been bought in for £200 million, and especially with the sales that we've been able to do or unable to do. A lot of the players that have left have been on pretty much on free, or we bought out their contracts. We've only made £8 million from sales, and that was from Nuno Tavares and Marquinhos. So it doesn't make any sense why Arsenal would announce this news to give Trossard a higher deal, especially over in the last season. He hasn't been playing that well. He's gone through 11-12 games where he wasn't able to score a goal, especially in the starting lineup. So all those people that were complaining about Trossard not giving him a chance starting, he did start a lot of games last season and he hasn't been able to make that position his own, even when Martinelli hasn't been performing well over the last 2 seasons either. So a lot of these things that are happening, it's just very, very disheartening, and it just doesn't make any sense. If you're going to give somebody a new contract, why aren't you giving them an extension? And why is it that Trossard is going on to 2027 with this higher contract? You just made it increasingly difficult on yourself to sell Trossard, even with 2 years left on his deal. You've basically confirmed the fact that Trossard is essentially going to leave on a free. I'm not sure if there's any club that's really going to go for him other than possibly Saudi Arabia, and even they could possibly wait for Trossard's contract to end in the next 2 seasons. So overall, it just makes absolute no sense, and I don't know what Arteta, I don't know what Berta's doing, because for me, I look at Berta and he's the one that's making all these decisions when it comes to contract negotiations and stuff like that. But I'm also specifically looking at Arteta because this just doesn't make any sense whatsoever, especially when we've got players coming in that we're trying to bring in. We're linked with names like Eze, we're linked with Rodrigo, and even the likes of Lookman and Leao. I mean, I don't even know if that's even going to be possible to get any of these players, and it doesn't look likely at all. And to be honest with you, this is probably a sign that Arsenal fans really need to adjust their expectations this season. And to be honest with you, we need to put high standards at this football club, in the sense that we need to go out and win a major trophy this season. I'm not talking about just the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. It would be nice to win those, but I'm talking about the Premier League or the Champions League. And a lot of people need to have these standards this season. I have these expectations because it's been far too long now. It's been so many seasons of being patient and this and that. And this is another thing that I say to Arsenal fans, is to stop this patient bullcrap. This patient bullcrap doesn't get anyone anywhere. You have to demand success and demand big players to come to the club at the time when the transfer window is open. There's no point waiting and hoping and doing all this stuff, because the more you die down on the hype, the less the club is urged to make those big signings or do anything like that. And that's why the fan base needs to put a pressure on the club. And don't get me wrong, with Trossard, I think he's a good player. I think he's great off the bench. He's 30 years old. I'm not sure how much longer he can possibly go on, essentially, for Arsenal. But last season, he didn't really justify the contract increase that he has right now. Yes, in the first year and a half, he's been absolutely superb. However, this just doesn't make sense to announce this sort of contract dealings right now, because of so many things that have come out the club in terms of lowering the wage bracket and all this stuff. This goes against everything that they've been talking about, and that can only infuriate the fan base even more, because they're literally taking us for mugs. That's literally what it is. And I don't know what Arsenal are going to do moving forward. I'm not really convinced that they're going to do much, because for them to increase Trossard's wages, and they've talked about keeping Martinelli and possibly selling Trossard and vice versa, but I'm not even sure they're going to sell either one of those. And if they're not able to sell either one of those, then you can forget about a left winger coming into the club, or you can hope that Madueke will be that player that plays left wing. And if you think that Madueke at the left wing is going to solve problems for Arsenal, Arsenal, then my friend, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know what goes in your head. I don't think you watch football properly, because Madueke isn't that guy, and I'm telling you that right now for free. So yeah, that's Arsenal. That's what we can expect. It's disappointing, and I feel bad for Trossard because he's not a bad player per se, but the announcement that's come out at this time, especially with Arsenal fans waiting for Eze to pretty much come to Arsenal, is dead in the water. Anyhow, that is the end of this video. Please like and subscribe. Very disappointing news, to be honest with you. It's not the news that we wanted to hear, but it's Arsenal Football Club, and a lot of people need to learn by now exactly how they operate. And for God's sake, Arsenal fans, expect more and demand more from this football club. Anyhow, that's it for me. See you later.